Welcome to the PalletQuest training video. In this session, you will receive information detailing specifics of the US Plus criteria and instructions on validating the allowable tolerances. Please note that the information contained in this video is confidential and the proprietary property of CHEP USA. After this session, if you have any additional questions, please contact the Customer Care Center at 1-866-855-2437. Let's begin by talking about some of the specifics of the CHEP block pallet. The CHEP B4848 pallet is a 48 by 40 inch pooled block equipment designed to support and transport your product. It has a true four-way entry and up to 87% top deck coverage. We recommend that the pallet hold up to 2,800 pounds. The full perimeter base also helps by evenly distributing the loads, which provides stability in stacking and eliminates potential issues observed from notched stringers. You can expect the typical load to ship at 570 pallets. However, loads can have a variety of tie designs and stack heights based on your specific needs. Our operations handling processes include a sort and repair operation as part of the general inspection and processing. In our operations, 100% of incoming pallets are flipped and inspected to the CHEP quality standard. Pallets deemed non-conforming to our quality standard at the sort process are sent to repair to either be returned to that standard or removed from the pool. All personnel are certified via Process Control Plan to ensure each team member is trained on identification of quality deficiencies. Pallets are made of 100% recyclable materials and kiln-dried lumber. New lumber used in repair and manufacturing are sourced from sustainable forests and are free of any hazardous chemicals or wood preservatives. Although new painting is not necessary to meet criteria compliance, water-based paint is used when a pallet is repainted. The stencil may be comprised of water-based paint or food-grade approved ink. During the remainder of this video, we will be reviewing the details of the US Plus criteria. The document on this screen is one which you may be familiar with. Let's start with the top deck. The first rule on the top deck is that no board should be broken all the way across its entire width. Take a moment to look at the examples provided and determine whether these are within the criteria. Example 1, Example 2, Example 3, Example 4, Example 5, and Example 6. Now we will display the results. How did you do? Example 1 and 6 would pass based on the rule listed. 2, 3, 4, and 5 would all fail due to having breaks all the way across their width. The next rule on the top deck is regarding the leading edge, which is along the 40-inch side of the pallet. For this area, you must have greater than 1 1/4 inches missing wood for the full length of the board, or greater than 2 1/2 inches for half the length of the board. Looking at the examples, decide if they pass or fail to meet the US Plus criteria. How did you do? In these examples, 1, 3, and 4 pass based on the leading edge rules. 2 would fail inspection due to being greater than 2 1/2 inch for half the length of the board, and 5 would fail due to being greater than 1 1/4 inches for the full length of the board. Next, we will talk about the allowable tolerances on the bottom deck. Similar to the top deck, no board should be broken across their full width. Looking at the examples, determine if they meet this rule. Example 1, Example 2, Example 3, Example 4, and Example 5. Let's see the results. Based on this rule, examples 1, 2, and 3 would fail, while examples 4 and 5 would pass for not being broken across the width of the board. On the bottom deck, there's also a rule regarding what is called the butted joint. As shown in the top right of the slide, this is the joint made where the cross-section boards on the 48-inch side meet the leading edge boards on the 40-inch side. The rule states that butted joints with less than 3 nails are not within criteria. Looking at the examples given, review example 1, example 2, example 3, and example 4. How did you do? Examples 1, 2, and 3 would all pass. As shown in example 2, an acceptable nail may not be completely surrounded by wood. Example 4, however, only has 2 nails and does not meet this rule. Leading edges on the bottom deck also follow the same guidelines as the top deck. They should not be greater than 1 1/4 inches for the full length of the board, or greater than 2 1/2 inches for half the length of the board. Let's look at the measurements given on the bottom deck leading edge examples to determine if they meet criteria. Example 1, Example 2, Example 3, and Example 4. Regarding the rules for leading edge, examples 3 and 4 would pass, based on the rules for leading edges. Example 1 would fail due to being greater than 2 1/2 inches for half the length of the board. And example 2 would fail for being greater than 1 1/4 inches for the full length of the board. Bottom deck boards running along the 48-inch side of the pallet should not be missing greater than half of their width for the full length of the board. Example 1 shows a board missing less than half its width, while example 2 shows a board missing greater than half its width. Based on the rule provided, example 1 would pass, and example 2 would fail. All boards on the bottom deck should be secure. In sections where there is a separation or splitting, if you apply a minimal force using 2 fingers and a thumb, and the board snaps back into place, it is considered secure. Looking at the examples, we have example 1, showing a fully unsecured joint, example 2, that has a secure board with a split, and example 3, where the board is split in a way that the board would not snap back. Based on the rule given, example 1 and 3 would fail, example 2 would pass. Now let's discuss blocks, nails, loose wood, and debris. First, we can cover the criteria for all blocks on the pallet. Twisted blocks should not protrude greater than ½ inch outside the perimeter of the pallet. Looking at the examples, example 1 shows a block twisted greater than ½ inch, while example 2 is twisted less than ½ inch. Missing wood blocks should not be missing wood greater than 1/3 of their total volume. Example 3 has a block that is missing greater than 1/3 of its volume, while example 4 is missing less than 1/3. For blocks that have horizontal splits, these blocks should not be able to separate or have movement at the split. For vertical splits, it may have minimal movement when nailed on both sides of the split, but the sections should not be able to be fully displaced from their original positions. Regarding raised fasteners, less than or equal to 1/8 of an inch is acceptable. A visual aid of a nickel and a dime make up the 3.2 mm tolerance as shown in the examples. Example 1 and 2 are within the allowable tolerance, while example 3 fails for being above 1/8 of an inch. All protruding nails that could potentially cause damage to product or catch on equipment must be removed, cut off, or hammered to the wood. Example 4 shows freestanding nails on the bottom deck inside the boards at the butted joint. Example 5 shows nails on the leading edge of the top deck, and example 6 shows a freestanding nail on the top deck leading edge. Example 5 would pass since the nails are against the wood. Example 4 and 6 would fail. Exposed nails are defined as when the point of the nail is exposed. Looking at the diagram with bottom deck boards removed, exposed nails within the red diamond are acceptable, since they are inside the pallet and do not create a potential for product damage. In any other area outside the diamond, they are not acceptable. Example 1 shows a block with exposed nails that would fail for points exposed and not being in the red diamond. Example 2 shows a block where the shaft of the nail is exposed, but the points are in the wood. Based on the rules for exposed nails, example 1 would fail, and example 2 would pass. Looking at loose wood tolerance, the rule states that wood that can be removed by hand with minimal effort, 2 fingers and a thumb, should be removed from the pallet. In example 1, we have a tight splintering. Example 2 shows heavy feathering of the wood. Example 3 shows a larger piece of wood hanging from the CB. Examples 4 and 5 represent boards that have separated and become loose. Example 1, tightly splintered, not easily removed, is acceptable. Examples 2, 3, 4, and 5 should all be corrected. Regarding debris, simply stated, debris should be removed prior to sourcing, and you should not be experiencing situations similar to those pictured above. For foreign substances, pallets should be clean, dry, and odorless, free from product spillage and external substances that are transferable. As shown in the picture on the top left, chalk is often used for auditing purposes and not considered a foreign substance. Based on the rule, examples 2 and 3 would fail and need to be corrected. Example 4 notes a dry sap stain remaining on the grain of the wood and is acceptable. Thank you for taking the time to review the US Plus criteria. If you have any additional questions, please contact the Customer Care Center at 1-866-855-2437 to be routed to the appropriate person regarding the type of question you have. As always, we appreciate your business and look forward to our continued partnership as your supply chain solution provider.